Hey everyone, and welcome back to my completionist playthrough of the Baldur's Gate Saga with SCS and Ascension. And we have arrived at our last episode before the final battle. We're going to do our last pocket plane challenge, finish up some minor things, and then we'll be ready. And here we are, of course, after our successful conversation with Balthazar, where Sinashira showed that even though she's a ball spawn, she can avoid bloodshed and be persuasive through the use of her diplomatic skills instead. But anyway, before we leave Amkethran, we should be at daytime hours already, and that is indeed correct. And that means that without the need to rest, we're going to be able to go and kill our last opponent here, because when we confronted the mercenaries 2 episodes ago, that happened during the night, and this mercenary captain I'm talking about is only present at their encampment during the day. So we're going to dispose of him right now, since of course we leave no survivors. And this is going to conclude our fights in Amkethran. And we might even scavenge some potions off of him. Yeah, let's take this potion of invulnerability and the oil of speed. Now, the next order of business is going to be to visit the Arcana Archives and speak to Lazarus Librus for the last time, recharge some of our stuff, and buy a few scrolls. So we're going to recharge our Rods of Resurrection, our Wands of Spell Striking, and our Rod of Reversal. There's so many R's in these items. So we're going to buy them back fully recharged, and directly into our scroll case we are going to buy a few scrolls, like these Protection from Evil scrolls, that I might do something with during the final fight in one of its phases. And we're also going to get these Scrolls of Slow. And now let's redistribute some of our stuff already. This is going to go to Imoen, and this is going to go to Kirnar a little bit later, but we are going to give her these Scrolls of Slow already, because they are going to come in handy in the next encounter. As you might have noticed, I have already reworked our gear and also our spells in between recordings, and now I think this is going to be the time to say bye-bye to Amkethran, and I guess freak Lazarus out by just teleporting back to our pocket plane right in front of him. But before we engage into our last pocket plane challenge, we are first going to craft our last item with Sespinar.
This will not take long. Sespinar gladly serve the Great One. Ooh, it's good stuff. Very firm, very strong. Makes her a good thwack in the head. Kapow!
So yeah, now finally we are going to upgrade our Staff of the Ram, unfortunately using our precious Roranak's Horn. That of course has served us well on many occasions. I really love that 50% crushing damage resistance, but now is going to be the time to finally get rid of it and get the upgraded Staff of the Ram instead. So now let's take a look at it. This is a very, very notable weapon, even though in our party composition we didn't really have anyone suited to wield it on a regular basis, but it is still a very powerful and noteworthy weapon. So now it is +6 enchanted, and it has 15% chance to knock back an opponent, which is usually detrimental, but the stun is nice. And of course, it has supreme damage among quarterstaves, having +12 crushing here, and even 1d4 piercing on top of all that. So a really nice, noteworthy weapon, but not for us, really. And since I have already prepared some spells, we are going to just rest now and do some preparations before stepping into the last chamber in our pocket plane. First, I think we're going to set up some triggers, sequencers, and whatnot. First, there's going to be the chain contingency on Sinashira, and we're going to place 3 Pierce Shield spells in it. Next, we're going to set up a spell trigger on Imoen, and both her spell trigger and spell sequencer are going to contain 3 skull traps, and we are able to memorize 6 of them on Imoen because I gave her the Ring of Acuity that normally Sinashira uses, that allows her to get that 1 more level 3 memorization slot, so she can have 6 of those. And Imoen is going to be responsible for dealing most of our damage in the next encounter, so we're going to get that prepared, and also we might set up a spell sequencer on Sinashira, but in that one we're going to place 1 Greater Amelyssan and 2 uses of Slow. Alright, and now we just need a few buffs, so we're not going to go too overboard with that. I think we're going to, just in case, give 1 Chaotic Commands to Imoen, just to be extra safe. And we're also going to protect Sinashira with protection from magic energy. We're also going to need Armors of Faith on both of our Divine Casters. I think we're also going to give 1 Oil of Speed to Kirinai, because she is going to be responsible for casting some spells from scrolls, and of course that is going to help her in that regard, and she might also get slowed in the upcoming encounter, so that is going to counteract that. And we're also going to use one improved haste, I think, on Jaheira, just so her performance can be a little bit better, and I guess we can also increase Animan's stats through Draw Upon Holy Might, and I think that is going to be it. Alright, so now let's go and see what awaits us here in the last challenge chamber.
You should not have come to this place.
So here we encounter the Ravager. I am what lies within you. I am the ultimate expression of your power, godling. I am the last of the barricades you have erected between yourself and destiny. Defeat me, and this plane is no more. There will only be the Throne of Bhaal. But you will not defeat me, for I am the Ravager. And yeah, the Ravager is one of the 3 avatar forms of Bhaal, this one being the monstrous beast with a height of 9 meters, or 30 feet. And he is level 30, has over 500 HP and regenerates 5 HP per second, and actually needs +4 enchanted weapons to be harmed. So, for example, our Fire-Tooth Dagger wouldn't be effective against it. His resistances are very good. He is immune to all sources of elemental damage. He has 90 magic resistance and 75 physical damage resistance, but his one notable weakness is that he has no magic damage resistance, and we are going to take advantage of that. That is the reason that this fight lends itself really well for a very specific set of spells that we're going to showcase here. He also has 5 attacks per round. He is very dangerous in melee because his attack is +5 enchanted, so only protection from magical weapons and absolute immunity would protect us from that there. And he has a Dispel magic of level 25 on hit. He can also deal not only slashing but also bonus crushing damage. He can lower the magic resistance of the target. He can also put them to sleep and knock them back. And his ranged attack is also pretty dangerous, although it is +4 enchanted, so Improved Mantle would work here. The most notable thing about it is that it can stun, so that's why we have given Imoen the chaotic commands, so that in case Ravager throws a couple of his daggers at Imoen, we're not going to lose control of her. But anyway, he is also immune to Time Stop and all status effects except Blindness and Slow. He is also immune to Backstab, but not to Critical Strikes. He is immune to Lower Resistance, but not to Pierce Magic or Pierce Shield. And he is also immune to spell levels 1 and 2, so no Magic Missile spam with improved Alacrity to take advantage of that 0 magic damage resistance. He also has an ability called Urge to Kill, and that dire charms evil characters, which is true to lore, where he could instill an urge to murder in someone, and it is especially effective on evil characters. But since we are all good aligned, we don't have to concern ourselves about that. He is also going to have a blade barrier made out of Bhaal's trademark bone daggers. By the way, apparently the best material to make a bone dagger out of is the human femur, the thigh bone. They have the strongest structure that allows them to withstand high stress and not break easily. And I'm sure that's going to be a really valuable piece of information for all of you. But anyway, he is also going to spawn up to 6 bone blades, and there's no point in killing them really, because they get replaced immediately. Though if you're getting overwhelmed by them, you can use Death Blow or Greater Death Blow, since they are only level 10, and clear them out with a Fire Seed Explosion, for example, to give yourself a bit of a reprieve, but we're going to have different plans for those Bone Blades. And the Bone Blades are a little annoying because they not only deal slashing damage but also cold damage on top of that, and they have a chance to slow and drain dexterity on their targets. But anyway, we are going to first pull back our casters as far as possible onto the stairs, and we're going to position Saravok and Kiranai here in the front to take the attention of the Bone Blades, and we're also going to rush straight forward with Senashira after casting Absolute Immunity, which is of course a spell that we haven't really used ever before, I think. Its effectiveness is going to be exactly the same as Protection from Magical Weapons would be, but let's present some variety, I guess, and go for Absolute Immunity this time, since we don't really have much need of level 9 spells on Senashira. Once that is done, we're going to charge forward and take the attention of the Ravager. Here's his blade barrier. Alright, and these bone blades are starting to spawn. We're going to want, of course, Saravok and Kiranai to direct their attention. We might even give hardiness to Saravok just to make it a little bit easier on him. Alright, I really don't want this Bone Blade to come closer to Sinashira because she has that chain contingency, and we want to make sure that it is unleashed on the Ravager and not on one of the Bone Blades. So come Ravager. We can even pull him a little bit back. And we're basically waiting for all 6 of these Bone Blades to spawn. We have 5 so far. Alright, now we have all 6 of them, and once they are committed to attacking our other characters, we are going to sneak out with our spellcasters and basically have them away from both the Bone Blades and the Ravager, and I think our Pierce Shields have been unleashed, each one reducing the Ravager's magic resistance by 30, so wiping him clean out of his magic resistance. That's nice. We're also going to unleash our spell sequencer now with Greater Amelyssan and 2 instances of slow, which should affect him, because with Greater Amelyssan his save versus spell is going to be 9, so not super high. And let's maybe even pull these Bone Blades a little bit further away, and now we're going to go away with our casters. Alright, apparently we have not been able to slow the Ravager. It usually happens, but this time he was... I think he is not slowed, yeah. This time he was lucky. But anyway, speaking of slow, we are going to use 1 copy of it on these Bone Blades. Their save versus spell is only 11, so they should be nicely affected by that slow, and their damage output should be nicely reduced, in effect. Now we're going to prepare what we need to prepare, and start out with improved alacrity on Imwen. And I think before we proceed any further, we might quickly discuss our equipment and our spells. Basically, I have went for a little bit of an armor class set up here on Jaheira and Hanuman, as well as Kiranai. She has the Amulet of the Master Harper and the Ring of Earth Control for that purpose, but her total armor class is not that high. That's all because the Bone Blades don't have such a tremendous THAC0, so having armor class, you know, in the like 13 or 15 negative range should sometimes make them miss their swings, and we're basically going to cast spells and have special tasks on Jaheira and Hanuman. Also on Kiranai, really, but anyway, that's why Jaheira has the Ring of Gax and the Dark Steel Shield, for example, and Sir Hanuman has the Gloves of Dexterity and a shield as well. Also, I have given the Gauntlets of Extraordinary Specialization back to Jaheira for this encounter, so that with that and improved haste, she can have 6 attacks with her sling, which we are going to use a little bit later. Hanuman also has his sling. That's of course because you know, we have +4 enchanted bullets, which are going to deal a little bit of damage to the Ravager. Kiranai is mostly going to withstand the attack of these Bone Blades by just having physical mitigation with her Janssen Adventureware and Defender of Easthaven. Oh yeah, she also has the Axe of the Unyielding for a little bit of armor class. She also has some situational stuff, as well as Clogareth here. If we wanted to use a throwing weapon on the Ravager, we would have to use this one and deal some minimal damage to him. Imoen has the Amulet of Power for a little bit faster casting, and Saravok is going to use the Ring of the Ram and the Ring of Energy a little bit later. So yeah, now we're going to just wait for our improved alacrity. We might as already tell Sinashira to renew her absolute immunity, just so that she is safe against the dispelling attacks of the Ravager. Alright, some of the Bone Blades got slowed. Not too impressive performance though. We might use another slow for that, because I think only 2 out of 6 got slowed. Anyway, let's also switch a little bit the position of Saravok, just so that he can be more effective a little bit later. And we are going to cast something very unusual on Jaheira, and we are going to cast Cause Critical Wounds, which is going to inflict 27 magical damage that Ravager is going to be susceptible to, with no saving throw, provided that she does not miss her attack. That's why we have more uses of that. And basically, speaking of spells of that nature, there is also the spell Harm that I have never used, and I basically never use, because it is just too good, no matter what kind of version of that you have. And what I'm speaking of here is that in the unmodded game, this spell lowers the HP of the target to 1. So of course it is just immensely powerful in many different situations. But SCS gives us an opportunity to make it a little bit less powerful, I guess, with one of its components, and basically make Harm deal 150 magic damage instead, which, you know, no matter what version you use, I consider both of them to be so powerful, you know, whether it's decreasing the total hit points of someone to 1, or dealing 150 damage in one go. They are both powerful options, so that's why we have never used harm, but this was a good opportunity to I guess, address it. And when it comes to Anemone, we are going to cast some Fingers of Death, and this is a nice opportunity to highlight the difference between the Cleric Finger of Death spell and the Mage Finger of Death. Because when it comes to the Cleric one, whenever a target makes their saving throw, or if they are immune to the instant death property of it, it is going to deal 2d8 magical damage plus 1 per level of the caster, so it is always going to deal above 20 damage. But when it comes to the Mage version of the spell, it only deals 2d8 plus 1, without the plus 1 per caster level. So this one is very weak when it comes to damage inflicted. That's why we have not bothered to even memorize any of those on Imoen. But yeah, anyway, we can unpause. Now we have improved alacrity. We can actually start casting our cause critical wounds on Jaheira, and now that we have improved alacrity, we are going to start out with just one Horrid Wilting, I think, and we're just going to kind of slowly get into our groove with our different tools that deal magical damage. We can unleash the Ring of the Ram from Saravok. We can start with a Finger of Death on Anemone. Alright, our Ring of the Ram was unleashed. Now we can switch it to the Victor, which also deals magical damage, not too impressive amounts, but it does trigger twice, just like Aganazar's Scorcher. So we are going to tell Saravok to use it his next round already. Yeah, now Kira and I can also join in on the fun, on the spellcasting fun. Yeah, 15 damage coming from Saravok. Once our proper burst gets unleashed by Imoen, and accompanied by Anemone mostly, this is going to be a little bit more convincing, I guess, when it comes to dealing damage to the Ravager. We can also use Holy Smites on Anemone, which are going to be very effective, especially if he fails his saving throw. And alright, Imoen's Abidelzim's Horrid Wilting was unleashed, and now let's unleash our proper stuff. So, triple Skull Trap coming from her spell trigger. Here's our Ring of Energy charge that even managed to deal a little bit of damage to one of the Bone Blades on its way. Yeah, Sir Anemone dealt some pretty decent damage with his Finger of Death. Alright, we have Jaheira prepared. After our Skull Traps explode, we are going to unleash her stuff. Alright, so we've had 6 Skull Traps dealing some pretty good damage. Oh yeah, also speaking of Skull Trap, in SCS it caps out at 12 d6, because in the vanilla game it goes up to 20 d6, which makes it really, really powerful, especially when unleashed in multiple copies for like high-level mages. But SCS still makes it a little bit unique, that it's, you know, has a higher potential damage than Fireball, for example, a very comparable spell to it, but it does go a little bit higher to 12 d6, which I think is a nice move on their part. So now we have unleashed both of those. Senashira, of course, is protected against our own Skull Trap damage with her protection from magic energy, and now that they have all exploded, we can go in with Jaheira, and we'll see if she misses her swing with her cause critical wounds here. Alright, she did, but we have more of that. Let's do it again. Alright, we are dealing more magic damage, and now I think it's time to do the clincher here and set up a chain contingency on Imoen that is going to unleash 3 Horrid Wiltings at the same time. That is going to be in effect soon. We can also keep our pressure up with our Holy Smites on Anemone. Saravok can keep using his Ring of Energy, that adds a little bit of damage. Alright, our Horrid Wiltings have been unleashed. Now, that is the type of damage I'm talking about. And that made Ravager close to death. He is near death there, and I think we might have went a little bit too hardcore on our spells here, because I also wanted to showcase our sling damage. So perhaps we can allow the Ravager to regenerate a little bit. I'm not even attacking with Senashira to contribute a little bit of sustained physical damage. Also, Senashira has the Hand of Murder, of course, that would deal magical damage, not decreased by any of Ravager's resistances, but, you know, on purpose we're not going all out yet. Alright, we have another cause critical wounds on Jaheira. Now, make me proud, Jaheira, and don't fumble this one. And she missed again. Well, That is totally on you, Jaheira. you little.
Name. All right.
I wanted to showcase that 27 damage, man, but that was, I guess, not meant to be. And yeah, let's showcase something else then that Jaheira is going to be more effective with, and that is going to be dealing some +4 sling damage, especially while accompanied by using critical strike and having 6 attack with that, 6 attacks per round with that. She should be able to contribute nicely, and I think now we might as well start also attacking with Senashira. Yeah, 14 damage with Jaheira here. Yeah, we are dealing some physical damage, and if this is not going to be it yet, let's clinch. Let's close the deal here with another Finger of Death from Anemon. Alright, now Senashira is getting dispelled. Her protections have expired, so let us reapply protection for magical weapons just to be sure here. And boom, Sir Anemon with his Finger of Death was able to just point his finger at the Ravager and bring death to it. It's kind of a cool concept, just pointing a finger and making something die. And yes, now after completing this challenge, we get access to the Resurrection spell on Senashira, which is basically an instant cast, you know, normal resurrection spell, which of course resurrects a dead person with full HP. So it's a little bit better than using a Rod of Resurrection, but also it can simply heal someone instantly, so that's another source of having that type of effect, which, you know, it's not that bad, but especially when we compare the evil option of what the ball spawn power would be if we had went and we had gone the evil way in our conversation with the Amelyssan and the Solar, and in that case we would get 25 physical damage resistance, which is just simply great. It's not that big of a loss for Senashira, I guess, because of what type of character she is. Of course, she relies on her spell protections not to be hit at all, but you know, it's clearly the superior choice for any character, and it would have been just incredible for Anemon or Kirinai, for example. Also, I think Senashira managed to level up, but let's just present the quick heal. It's not exactly instant, but it does provide a full heal rather quickly. And now with the last child of Bhaal dead, well, I guess all the children of Bhaal that are not us and Balthazar, I guess, you may now enter the abyssal realm of the Throne of Bhaal. Once you do so, the pocket plane will be destroyed forever. And yeah, now we're going to have the option to proceed to the point of no return and just advance to the final battle.
What is it? Without hesitation.
We're going to have a few options here. Yeah, we are not yet ready though. We do not wish to leave at this time, because we can still do this level up first. Another level 8 memorization slot for Senashira, that's pretty nice. Of course, I am going to rework our gear and spells between recordings, because we are going to dedicate the next 2 episodes, I think, for the final battle, because of how elaborate and long it is. But before we end this one, let us just have one final look at our stats here in the information tab, and just see how our characters performed throughout the game. So Senashira managing to get 1,244 kills, which is just well, quite a nice number. You can see that she is a child of Bhaal, clearly, from this, especially considering that in Baldur's Gate 1 she had 600 kills, so almost 2,000 kills over the course of Senashira's adventure. After leaving Candlekeep, she had managed to obtain, well, even in Candlekeep, she managed to kill 2 assassins. But anyway, that accounted for 38% kills overall in Shadows of Amn, Throne of Bhaal. In recent times that was 27%, still this is going to be the highest. And yeah, Draconis apparently was her most powerful vanquished foe. And I think we're going to have a lot of dragons in general in this category. So yeah, of course, fantastic performance by our main hero, Senashira. Now let's take a look at Jaheira. Of course, as always, she has Bodhi as her most powerful vanquished. Opponent 455 kills, 13 or 14% kills in general. Just a solid performance by Jaheira, especially once she kind of comes into her own with some gear upgrades in Shadows of Amn and later on with some druid levels. So yeah, just a solid performance by Jaheira. Next up, Eneman, a very similar amount, 445 kills, 13 or 12% kills in total. His most powerful vanquished was Carnifex, the red dragon from Abazagul's lair that we have encountered upon our return. Very nice going, Sir Eneman. Now, Kirinai, 720 kills, about 20% total kills, and her most powerful vanquished is still Firkrag, even though she also managed to deliver the killing blow onto Saladrex, who is worth the same amount of experience, but of course Firkrag was the first, so she kind of became our red dragon slayer in our party. Just of course a very versatile and effective character, very fun to play as well. Now Imoen of course joined very late in Shadows of Amn, managed to still obtain 166 kills in total, a little bit 8 I guess relative to others in recent times. Her most powerful vanquish was the Demi-Lich from Watcher's Keep, and of course Imoen, very dear character to me and to Senashira. Just a nice performance. Mages in my parties usually have the least amount of kills by far. And finally we have Sarevok, who managed to do very well for himself, 222 kills, which accounted for 17% in recent times. His most powerful vanquish was the dragon from Watcher's Keep level 5, and when it comes to his kills though, to be fair, it has to be said that I have given Sarevok many occasions to kind of prove himself, and to have many instant kills through Deathblow and Greater Deathblow and Fire Seed explosions and whatnot, so he was a little favored, I guess, promoted in some of these fights. Normally if he was with us this whole time, from the beginning of Shadows of Amn, for example, it might not have been as much as 17, but I don't know, perhaps he would be able to achieve that kind of amount. So yeah, this is going to be our last look before going into the unknown, and I guess proceeding with the final battle. But for now, this is going to be it. Even though this episode I think is going to be slightly shorter, I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. And I thank you for watching, and I'm going to see you next time.